Welcome to a not so special edition of ShiftLess, where we're going to be talking about gravel cycling culture and bicycle adventures. And yes, definitely bikepacking is part of bicycle adventures, but it's not only bikepacking. A bunch of stuff to talk about. And it's not so special because Bradford's not with us today. Things are working out. I have some traveling to do on our regular recording day. I have some downtime in the middle of an event we're putting on today, actually all weekend long. And so while I'm waiting for writers to come back through here, I thought I'd talk about some of the stuff that we're coming across this weekend, and it's really cool. I'm actually super excited, and a lot of the comments I'm hearing from the writers got me thinking along these lines. One was the beginner gravel clinic we did last weekend alongside the Pie Ride. There was a lot of eye-opening stuff for me related to that. It's really going to help me figure out how to do the beginner gravel thing. We've been trying to wrap our arms around that, our heads around that for years. It's really tough to put together beginner clinics because groups of beginners that are all at the same level of beginner, it's almost impossible. Everybody's a different level of beginner. So my takeaway from that was that more focused one-on-one or one-on-two or three approach is probably a better way to go about it. But what got me taking that even to the next level is the ride we're doing this weekend. This is our first, what we're calling Gravel Max Adventure. We're calling this one the Distance. And it's a club ride. It's only open to club members, but it's geared towards those people that are wanting to take their riding to that next distance and, go further than they have before. So we have one route that's 135 miles. We have another that's, I think, 205, 210 miles. And the last one's just over 300 miles. Now, most of our 300 milers, not all of them, most of our 300 milers have done other 300-mile efforts before. We actually have a Gravel Worlds champion, people that have completed the Unbound XL and things like that. But what really got me thinking is most of these people that are going those longer rides at other events, a lot of them got their start on some of our beginner type rides. And they progressed over the years to the levels that they are. And everybody's progression path is different. That's super important. There's no one way to do it. There's no right way to do it. There's a lot of wrong ways to do it. There's no doubt about that. Along the lines of the beginners clinic concept being almost a one-on-one, I think everyone's progression to those next levels is very individualized, very individualistic. It's really tough to say, well, this is how Bob Smith did it. That's exactly the way I need to figure out how to accomplish the Tour Divide. We've put our stuff together forever with progression in mind, where super beginner, we rarely throw that into the mix except for specific clinics and things like that. But when our events, our typical gravel endurance events, we almost always have a air quotes beginner route that's on the shorter side of things, usually under 40 miles, usually under 35. We'll usually have a middle distance route that's 50 to 60 miles. And then we'll usually have a longer distance route that's 70 to 100 plus miles. And then every once in a while, we'll throw out the multi-days and the point-to-points that are super long. And ultimately, right now, the RAT 1000 is our longest route. And that was put together in 2014 specifically to be a primer training grounds for people that were wanting to do the Tour Divide. We've had a lot of RAT veterans that have gone on to do the Tour Divide. But now it's actually going to be a way to get warmed up to do the USA Trail. We're super excited about 4,200-ish miles of USA Trail that we're going to kick off this fall. But I realize very few people are in a position right now to go, oh, I'm just going to go knock out 4,200 miles. You have to, even if it is a goal, you have to build towards that goal over time. You don't just hop on the bike and do it the first time. You do have to scale up. Several of the riders that are all doing their longest rides today, they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for 210 miles. Well, what's the longest you have done? I've done 130 on gravel, 150 on pavement. It's like, okay, 210's a next level progression. There's no doubt about it. Mostly gravel, a lot of climbing on this route. It's all about learning to ride your own ride your pace, and different people approach that different ways. I'm not here to say that I can teach everyone how to do it. What we want to do is give them an environment where when they are ready for that next level of challenge, we have something in the mix, not too far in the future, that fits their progression bill. We try to do at least 2 to 3 rides/events each month. One's a traditional gravel event, that 35 to 75 mile, maybe 100 mile options in that. We'll usually do one club ride of some sort that's kind of a specialty ride, like this one, the Gravel Max adventure. We're going to do more Gravel Max adventures. When I put this one together, to be honest with you, I really thought it was going to interest people that were interested most in bikepacking. And there's a little bit of that going on with this one, but this is mostly people that are wanting to chase that straight through for their longest distance. Where I'm set up for camp right now, this was intended to be an overnight stop for the different distances for people that were wanting to try out bikepacking. And I think right now we only have 2 participants that are planning to camp overnight. Another one that set up an Airbnb, but that's a totally different thing. She's actually a pro racer, and she's got a very specific 2-day training regimen, so she needs her full sleep in between. But everyone else is pretty much planning just to chug along straight through, whether they're doing 135, 205, or 300 straight through. This is set up where people can overnight here, but it's also resupply at the 150 mile point on the 300 mile route after a big gap in between other resupply options. So it's critical for me to be here, even if people aren't camping, because they're still going to need resupply. Everyone is carrying everything they need except for the water itself for the whole ride. I've actually got literally a van full of food here that nobody's touching, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that at all. I guess that's what's been really satisfying. I don't know if satisfying is the right word. It's really cool to see this. This is definitely in the gravel community, in the gravel culture. We definitely have attained next level for a large percentage of the riders. It wasn't that long ago. It wasn't even 10 years ago that the only people that were even thinking about doing things like of this distance were the pointy end of the field at the time in the old traditional gravel. The everyday Joes, every once in a while they might go out and do 100 miles, and that's really pushing it. The local legends were the ones that were knocking out 150, 200 miles at the Dirty Kanza and things like that. The ultra endurance stuff is definitely gone next level. There's a bunch of reasons for it. What is fascinating to me, though, is the lack of organized training environments for those types of attempts. A lot of people are just kind of left out in the wind, where it's like, I need a 300 mile route. Okay, here's a 300 mile route. What do you do? Okay, you've got a route. What do you do with it from that? You still need to understand what your resupply looks like, what your pacing looks like, and things like that. And there's a lot of pieces to that. It's yes, it's traditional cycling coaching, but there's a lot more to it than just the coaching aspect. And realistically, even in the traditional coaching environment, there's a lot of coaches that have no clue how to coach for 300-mile efforts. A lot of the traditional coaching just doesn't even allow for those types of efforts to train up for it. It's like, well, just do a bunch of 100-milers over the course of 6 months, and then maybe you're ready for a 300-miler. I've seen that be nothing but failure for many, many people and what ends up happening is people try out these new distances on their bucket list events that they're spending hundreds of dollars on entry fees and maybe thousands of dollars overall in travel expense and hotel accommodations and whatever else there. And along the way, they're trying out new equipment, or maybe they're not even trying it out. Somebody told them they need this piece of equipment, they need this piece of nutrition, they need to hydrate this certain way, without actually ever really trying it out for themselves. And that's the big part of the bicycle adventures and the ultra endurance efforts that I'm hoping to help people that are wanting to go that next level to truly understand. You don't just hop in feet first and turn everything upside down and throw a bunch of new stuff into your arsenal and try to make it work for 200 miles, 300 miles, 5 days in a row, or whatever else it may be. You do have to build all those pieces incrementally. And every single one of them is super critical. The equipment you use, it's super critical to have the right equipment for your needs and your style. The nutrition approach you take is probably number 2 on the list of most important things. We'll talk about number 1 a little bit later. Obviously, along with nutrition, your hydration schedule and how you care for that. But even in the nuanced aspects of things, heat acclimation, proper gear for going through colder weather, particularly on multi-day efforts. You can go from 100 degrees one day to 30 degrees the next night, sort of thing. And sometimes even broader swings than that. How do you effectively care for that? It's almost impossible to train for every little detail you may come across in a multi-day effort in another multi-day effort. You can't train for all of them in one training ride, sort of thing. So you have to train pieces and parts along the way and marry all of those pieces and parts together and recognize when something doesn't work. It is this precise thing here that failed, not of, I tried 25 different things on this ride and I blew up after 3 hours. Why? Oh, well, I don't know. I changed my food. I've got a new drink mix. I went to a bigger chain ring. I went to a smaller cog. I went to a different type of chain. I've got an old chain ring. I changed my shoes. I changed my... When you change everything all at once, if something's going wrong, you don't know what it is. The best approach is just to change one piece at a time as you know it needs changing. There's no magic formula out there. You're not going to throw a credit card at a single purchase that's going to make you instantly a top-level ultra-endurance rider. It's built incrementally. Probably the lowest part of that is the basic equipment itself. The bike itself is not super important. Realistically, almost every bike that's $2,000 and up right now, and there's even some $1,000 bikes you could throw into the mix. Any bike that's $2,000 and up and generally built for the discipline that you're wanting to utilize it in is probably going to do fine. Can some bikes do better for you than others? Sure, but those are going to be just marginal gains, as they say. It's incremental at best. If you have a bike that fits you well, goes where you want to go, works the way you want, and you're comfortable on it, that's the most important aspect of it. Everything after that it's just gimmick, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, don't get me wrong. I love bling as much as anybody out there. There's nothing wrong with getting bling for the sake of bling, as long as you recognize that's what it is. I love me some sexy titanium bits, and there is a benefit to it. But look at me. The benefit of a titanium bike isn't going to literally outweigh my other issues. If I fine-tune both of them, fantastic. Ultimately, it is a better performance. But no bike out there is going to give me more gains than proper training. Once you max out your training capacity, that's when those marginal gains start to kick in. Essentially, the key to the ultra endurance and the multi-day stuff, it's super simple. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Focus on what you know doesn't work. Don't guess at what doesn't work. Don't assume what doesn't work. Know what's not working for you. I was doing great, but I ended up with 3 flats on that ride. Well, why are you getting flats? Don't know. You know, the tubes I have. Oh, tubes. Have you considered tubeless? Maybe you look into a tubeless upgrade, or you are tubeless. Oh, well, yeah, I'm using these racer tires, and I'm running them at 22 psi. All right. Well, let's go with first the assumption. Let's not just buy new tires immediately. Maybe let's up the air pressure a little bit. Maybe that takes your flats down. That's not it. Okay. Maybe we do look at a different tire at that point. And you do the incremental changes to find out what does and doesn't work one piece at a time, which I get it. A lot of us have zero patience. We want that instant gratification. We want it fixed immediately. This is ultra endurance training. This is ultra endurance riding. Ultimately, and here's the number one piece that I was touching on before, what's at the top of the heap is your headspace. You have to have your head in the right place to succeed at the ultra endurance stuff. And that goes from everything from sticking to a training regimen, being disciplined for that, recognizing when you are repeating the same error over and over and addressing that and not making excuses as to why that may be. Here's one of the toughest parts. Tough is the key word. Mental toughness is super key to ultra endurance, but too much perceived mental toughness has taken out a bunch of riders, a bunch of athletes I've seen over the years for extended periods of time. There's a difference between riding through pain and riding through injury. And it's a very fine line a lot of times. A lot of times you'll be riding through pain to ride yourself into injury. Just toughing it out for the sake of toughing it out isn't the right way to go. All that said, and I'm not pretending I'm a super coach. Far from that. But I have literally seen hundreds, maybe thousands of people progress to what, like I said, not that long ago, were unimaginable levels. Some literally at champion levels, biggest events in the world, winning levels. That's not me that got it. I'm not implying that. What we've done over the years has given them opportunities to train themselves to help them get to that next level as well. Not just us. There's a bunch of other stuff they were doing in the mix too. What I'm saying is I've seen these people come through. I've seen them achieve the highest levels. Unfortunately, I've seen the inverse of it as well. People with what look like massive talent and massive ability that essentially cratered themselves from not taking the proper approach or just getting completely blacked out mentally because they weren't achieving what they thought were the appropriate goals in the appropriate time frame. It's a process. It's a progression. Everybody's process and everybody's progression is going to be different from everyone else's. It is very difficult to identify what each of our processes should be, but it's also super important to have the flexibility to adjust that process when needed. And the biggest way to accomplish that is simple. You just ride your bike more. You ride your bike more often. You ride your bike every chance you get. There's no fix in a bottle. There's no fix in a box. It's follow the process and follow the process that's right for you. One step at a time, you make yourself a better rider. You make yourself a stronger rider. And you achieve that by going to that next level, and then the next, and then the next. If you jump 5 levels at a time, can it be done? Sure. People do it all the time. But when you jump 5 levels at a time, and then you try to go to 6th level and everything falls apart, you don't know what exactly it was in the middle ground that you should have been paying more attention to. Incremental change. A little bit here, a little bit there, keep building on it. Go a little bit further. You don't ride to the point of a bonk just for the sake of finding the bonk, but recognizing when you find a bonk and what may have created that specifically, that's a world of difference between, oh, I bonked, I need to fix that. Let's go try this solution in a bottle. Let's go try that pill. Let's go try this magic vegetable or vitamin tablet or whatever else. I am going to take this opportunity to remind everyone that ShiftLess is self-sponsored. We are not beholden to any sponsors. We give our real opinions on stuff, but we are self-sponsored. That means eatatfam.com. Fam, Food Adventures Memories, Chef Brad Green. Amazing dining experiences, and we'll be combining more of those with Spinistry events going forward. But obviously, yes, Spinistry and our events and Club Spinistry, we're going to definitely touch on that a little bit. Let's just say this episode is sponsored by Club Spinistry because between the beginners clinics and the progression for ultra endurance riders, I have an idea I want to throw out there. And it's not a final concept by any stretch of the imagination. It's a very rough idea. And I want your feedback on how to make it make sense for everyone. But first, one huge favor. It is a massive goal of Brad's and mine to grow this podcast for a lot of reasons. Not for celebrity, quite frankly. My ideal situation would be I would just be the guy in the background that nobody ever hears my voice or sees my face. I think we have a lot to offer people from our practical experience. Not that we have all the answers by any stretch of the imagination, but we've helped a lot of people get to that next level. And not that we can take everybody to their next level, but we can help them get there, because if we can't do it ourselves, we can help you find the right person to do it, or better yet, who not to glom on to. Growing this podcast is super important to us. Thanks to y'all, we've recently climbed up into that top 5% of all podcasts that are out there, which is pretty cool. But anybody that knows the podcast industry, just showing up every week gets you probably in the top 10. Getting up to the top 5, it takes a little bit of something there. but we're not worried about being top of the heap of all the podcasts that are out there. I mean, cycling is a niche. Gravel, unpaved, adventure cycling, bikepacking, that's a niche within a niche within a niche sort of thing. We want to be where people are aware our message is out there, and the right people can come on our show and share their message as well. That's our ultimate goal, where it makes sense for those people to be part of our crew over time. And the best way for that to happen, quite frankly, is if you listen to us, if you watch our videos and consider yourself a fan, please spread the word. Share it with others you know who might be into it as well. Leave a review, leave a rating. So what really got me thinking about this progression approach, about people growing into that next level, and the way we've done things over the years in the Spinistry world to help folks get there, is this event itself came about specifically because we were approached by club members that wanted a 300-mile training ride. The 300-milers are kind of a next level thing now. And it started with bikepacking 300-milers, but now it's, just plowing through for 300 miles. You still have to carry more stuff than going out for your neighborhood ride sort of thing, but, people aren't fully loaded out for 300-mile one pull efforts right now. So we were approached by members to put together something around, and this is a club ride. We're charging people like $12 to cover the camping cost at 4R, and gave them a vetted route, scouted the route, and given a resupply option, things like that. And we're able to do that because they are club members. So the aggregate of all of the memberships, maybe we had 20 people that signed up for this event this weekend at $12 a head or whatever it is. I mean, obviously nobody's making a living off of that, but it's also 20 club members that are given whatever membership fee they are giving. And along with the other members, we can do these club benefit rides, training opportunities, clinics, things like that. And it's always required a group effort to still make it make sense. It's because of the membership base and them reaching out and requesting things that we do put things together a lot of the time. What's particularly with the club rides that are maybe a little bit more informal, loosely structured, they're meant to be open-ended, where this is the sandbox. You play in it the way you want to, sort of thing is the concept usually around these club rides, these club events. It's more along the lines of here's the color by numbers kit, but you're not beholden to the colors by those numbers. You choose your own sort of thing. But that does cause, excuse me, but that does cause discomfort for a lot of people. They get, a lot of people want to do it this way, that way, do it exactly in this order, use this, you don't use that. At this time, you want to do this. At that time, we're going to be here. It's, this is a build your own adventure, literally, sort of environment. And between the beginner clinic one-on-ones last weekend and some of the feedback from the riders that, or even potential riders that didn't make it out to the distance, where their discomfort levels might be, where they were beyond their comfort zone, sort of thing, it does lead me to believe that there is a need, not with everyone, but for some people, and it's not hand-holding. I don't want to paint it like that, but more of a concentrated, focused, one-on-one type of attention. Definitely at the beginner level, because every beginner is different. And that's been our biggest stumbling block over the years, trying to come up with beginner formats and environments and clinics. And how do you do this? Because the notes in every beginner is at a different level of beginner. And quite frankly, most experienced riders would definitely consider beginners. Most of those people don't consider themselves beginners. And I'm not going to draw lines here and gatekeep and say, well, if you can't do this, you're a beginner. Suffice it to say, if you haven't been riding for at least 2 years very diligently, every chance you can get, and have made massive progressions in your abilities, you're most assuredly a beginner. And I know people that have been riding 20 years that I would definitely still consider a beginner. And it's not a shortcoming of theirs. It's just the things they haven't experienced yet. That's what makes you a beginner. And knowing, reading on the internet or watching a YouTube video, it assuredly can be helpful, but knowing is not the same as doing. To break outside of that beginner box, you actually have to do these things. But you can't do them all at one time. That's overload. So I think a more concentrated approach focused on specific people and their needs definitely at the beginner level. That was my revelation last weekend. It makes sense to do some one-on-one beginner clinics or close to one, very small group beginner clinics where that specific clinic is targeted to that specific person and their needs and where they are in this broad beginner spectrum. What I'm recognizing this weekend with people that are out on the distance and what they're accomplishing, and those that are uncomfortable with what they're trying to accomplish, and those that just didn't come out because they were not comfortable with the concept because it wasn't so black and white structured. I think there's even some one-on-one progression training that would make sense for a lot of people. Again, I'm not painting myself as the end all and be all, knows everything, can teach everyone everything. Far from that. I think I can teach everyone something that helps them get to that next level. And once they do get to that next level and know, I can help them find the right resources to take them to even further levels beyond that. I think I can talk to anybody and take them one step up, just about. Maybe even at the highest levels. I do remember one very specific conversation with somebody that it was their idea too, but they were backing away from it, and they wanted to win a really big race out there, a really, really big race out there. And I told him the strategy to apply, and he won it. And he used that strategy. He had thought about using that strategy before, but for various reasons, he was backing away from it. And I just reinforced what he already thought. But it was that reinforcement that helped him win what some might say is the world's biggest gravel race. I do like to think I can help everyone get to that next level, because I've seen a lot of people accomplish a lot of things over the years, and I recognize how they got there. I'm not, a lot of it I've tried, a lot of it's worked for me, a lot of it I've tried and it's not worked for me. And I can literally speak to hundreds, if not thousands of people that I've seen their experiences as well. So I think we can help people get to that next level, which in turn opens their eyes on how they can help take themselves to even further levels from there. Not saying it's for everyone. A lot of people are already dialed into their own progression scale. There's also a lot of people that have no idea what direction to go to get to that next level, or even worse, they're getting a lot of bad advice from people that think they know things they really don't know any better. I always lean on years and years of experience one way or another. I'm not saying lean on my years and years of experience. Don't take advice from somebody that's just been doing it for a few months. They don't know what they don't know yet. What I'm thinking about, here's the concept I have in mind, is definitely for the beginners. I think this makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure how to do it for riders that are wanting to go to the next level yet, but that's probably where you guys can help me the most. The beginners aren't going to find us themselves, quite frankly. You guys are going to be the ones that say, this person could really benefit from this approach to growing beyond being a beginner. But first, let's start with what I have in mind for the beginners themselves. So Club Spinistry has multiple tiers of membership. We have steel, we have carbon, and we have titanium. Previously, steel is generally, it's the lowest cost membership level, and it's really aimed at people that aren't competitive or super competitive. Maybe they race a couple times a year, but most of the time it's more about just getting out and experience the ride, the social ride. It's the lowest dollar option to get basically free Spinistry events throughout the year, as long as they're non-competitive. And if you sign up early, you get into all of our single day events free, just your $125 a year membership. The next level, carbon, is really meant for the racers, because that allows them to get, and that's, I believe, $200 a year, I believe. That allows the racers to get into our competitive events, which are a higher cost event. And the competitive events are a higher cost because, A, we have to pay for timing. That's an additional expense to us. We have to pay for racing insurance as opposed to the club insurance, which covers the non-competitive events. And usually there's prizes in the mix as well. So there's going to be a cost associated with that. So A, that's why the competitive events are typically higher cost than the non-competitive events in Spinistry world. And that's why the carbon level membership is more expensive. But another benefit for the carbon level membership is I recognize a lot of times racers don't sign up until the last minute for multiple reasons. The carbon membership, you don't have to register early to get your free entry like you do with the steel. You can, as long as slots are available, if it's not sold out, you can register as late as day of with the carbon membership. Our third tier of membership is titanium, and who that one was intended for, who I thought was the best fit for it, were the riders that were looking for next level support for multi-day events or the special meal rides or things like that, that wanted not a true white glove experience, but a little bit more support along the way. And basically they would get into all of our events last minute, free of charge. Even if it's sold out, they could still get in for our typical events. Our specialty events with meals or multi-day support, things like that, it's probably available to other people too, but at a substantially higher price than what the titanium members would pay. That was the concept I had for the titanium membership, really meant for experienced riders wanting a next level experience capability, where kind of the idea behind all of them is 2 events a year and you've more than paid for the membership. And the titanium level membership, the idea was 1 event a year pays for the $300 a year membership, because, you know, some of the stuff we do is worth $300. You know, it's actually that's a bargain for some of the supported multi-day event things we do and things like that. That was kind of the idea. I'm thinking I'm actually going to kind of turn that around though. And I think what might make sense is the titanium package to be aimed at beginners and people that were specifically wanting to begin a progression, maybe not a program, but a progression process, a progression destination, a direction to specifically follow for a progression curve. Whereas the beginners, with their $300 titanium membership, that would get them a one-on-one session where we do, it's a tell, show, do instructional environment where we sit down, we talk one-on-one and find out, what they know, what they don't know, what they want to know, what they're comfortable with, what they're not comfortable with, and talk for a couple hours along those lines and give some feedback and talk through things, and then go out on a ride together. And, coaching's not the right word, more along the lines of observing and giving feedback and suggestions. Not to say, do it exactly this way, more along the lines of, well, you can keep doing it that way, but here's what may happen, or here's what I've seen happen to other people. And, or, if you tried it this way instead, you may have better results. Kind of that guidance sort of thing. Let them experience that and build from that and start their own progression curve. But since they have that titanium membership, then they're able to get into all of the events free of charge, so they can take their beginner clinic and actually implement it in real event environments for 12 months. And they know it's a one-time fee, $300. They get some one-on-one time. And obviously there would be follow-ups as well. The way I'm kind of perceiving it is when we do a beginner one-on-one clinic that's aimed at a couple of people, any of our other titanium members can come along for a refresher course, or just to ride along, or whatever else, and maybe give some of their feedback. Oh yeah, we went over that before and I've struggled with it. I wanted a refresher, things like that. So the idea is $300 a year gets a beginner 12 months of skill building experience in a knowledge perspective, in one-on-one guidance suggestions, but then where they just literally have multiple rides and events available to them throughout the year, where they can reinforce those skills and build from them. That I'm almost certain I'm going to be implementing probably in June with the beginner clinics. I would like to maybe take that same approach for people that were well beyond beginner, but not sure how to truly take things to that next level, or not confident on how to take things to that next level from a time in the saddle, a distance in the saddle. If I, what do I really need to do to go bike packing, or do I even want to go bike packing? There's a lot of ways you can have an adventure on a bike that involves camping that you don't necessarily have to carry all your gear on the bike. And I think a lot of people get caught up in you're supposed to have these bags, and you're supposed to have that tent and things like that. And that's really not what it's about. It's about getting out and riding your bike in places that you wouldn't normally get to for longer periods than you normally wouldn't get to. There's a lot of ways to accomplish that. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with traditional bike packing. If that's what floats your boat, if that's what scratches your itch, we can help you get there, and I can show you ways to do it. I can show you ways to do it economically, if budget's a factor for you. But even beyond the bike packing, if it goes beyond that, I'm a big fan of the credit card gravel touring. The USA Trail was built just like the Rat 1000 with the intention of, you might want to carry an emergency bivvy or that for a just in case, but for the most part, a couple spots might be iffy. You'd have to be a strong rider, but for the most part, you can do the whole USA Trail without camping. And you might have to be willing to stay in some not so great motels along the way, but it's possible. It's possible. But you can definitely do it if you're wanting to carry camping gear with you as well. So that's where I need your feedback. Please comment or email shiftlesslive@gmail.com. If you hopefully I'm kind of making sense with what I mean by this progression model and what I'm willing to do to try to flesh it out and work with some people so we can come up with a program that makes sense. That same beginner model I was talking about, where it's $300 for the year and you get into all the events, even the additional spritzy ones or additional clinics or whatever else, but you get that one-on-one time and feedback and things like that. I'm willing to offer that to that next level rider too, that's wanting well beyond beginner, but wanting to figure out how to really ramp things up to that next level. But I also recognize that most of the people that are interested in that are already a Club Spinistry member currently. Once our podcast starts going further out there and the USA Trail does start getting exposure in all these other states, I'm sure there'll be other athletes that might be interested in that mid-level progression that aren't already Club Spinistry members. But if you are an existing Club Spinistry member, what I'm thinking is you would go ahead and get the titanium membership for the $300, and we would make that effective at the end of your current membership. But then we would also upgrade your current membership to titanium. So hypothetically, the way that would work is if you have 6 months left on your current Club Spinistry Steel membership, let's say, and you got the progression package, however we facilitate that, we'll probably do it as a clinic. It's a $300 clinic that includes the titanium membership is kind of what I'm thinking. So then what we would do is you would get, essentially, if you had 6 months left on your existing steel membership, you would get 18 months of titanium membership for that $300. We would upgrade your current membership to titanium and then start another 12 months of titanium membership at the end of that sort of thing. Does that make sense? With the idea to get the one-on-one clinic, saddle time, and like we did with the distance here, maybe we find 4 or 5 people that are kind of have a common goal, and we put together a Club Spinistry weekend event or something like that that's geared specifically towards accomplishing that goal, and put a bunch of people in the same environment trying to accomplish the same thing and help everybody build to that next level. That's the concept I have in mind. The beginner stuff, like I said, I know I'm going to do that, probably kick that off in June. I would like to maybe introduce the progression model as well over the summer, but again, I'm just thinking out loud as I'm waiting on riders to come back for their 150-mile check-in. We should have our first rider in the next hour or so for that. Feedback from y'all is the biggest piece for making that progression model make sense. Like I said, when I put this together, in my head, it was going to be most attractive to people that were wanting to learn how to go bikepacking. And most people were going to split their big mileage up into 2 chunks one way or another. And what actually, 80% of the people that are doing this are focusing on a straight through effort. And so obviously we're giving them a training environment for that. And I'm happy to help with that. And it's what they need. It's not what I thought people that would be interested in this event needed. So you tell me what you need, and we'll help you get there. That's the idea. I know, I used a lot of words to get there. I do apologize. I promise next time Brad will be here, I think we're going to have a pretty darn cool guest as well that really feeds actually into this progression model that might give you a hint of who it's supposed to be. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Apologies that you were stuck with just Kevin for this episode of ShiftLess. I think it's 142. I don't know. But thanks for listening to this point. Again, if you have thoughts, ideas, comments, concerns, feedback for me, I am open to it. shiftlesslive@gmail.com. And if you have some beginners in mind, start letting them know something like this is in the works. And if there's feedback from them I need to be aware of, please let me know as well. All right. Next week, I promise Bradford will be here and a pretty cool special guest. Go ride your bikes. Seriously, go ride your bikes. It's so important.